sometimes you need that small win to just believe in yourself, because after a certain time, you stop believing.
Adam W. is an award-winning comedian, content creator, and has created sketches with celebrities like Nick Cannon, Jason Derulo, Terry Crews, and has appeared on shows like Wild 'N Out.
You might have seen me on TikTok. I got a fan base of 20 million. I should really be thanking you, because over half of them are probably your children.
Adam has amassed a huge following of 4.8 million on Instagram, over 10 million on YouTube, and 17 million on TikTok.
It was tough to network with anybody because I didn't have a following, and nobody wanted to work with me if I didn't have a following. So I just said I was gonna create it myself.
We talked to Adam about his unconventional career path.
Posting whenever, or trying to post, and everything was a scramble, and I was, doing everything by myself.
Growing up in a Middle Eastern household.
A lot of brown parents, they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, and I'm like, hey, I'm like trying to convince my mom that I'm famous. And she's just like, she didn't believe me.
And the difference between acting and content creation.
I always thought, oh, it's gonna be me being an actor, I'm gonna be in a movie, and then I'll make millions of people laugh. And I'm thankful that it didn't happen that way, because I would have never known that I had the skill to create stuff.
I feel like everyone knows you as this super successful, guy with like millions of followers in LA. You create these amazing comedic sketches. But what Jay and I were talking about right before you got here is like, you're Egyptian, right?
Yes.
And so I'm assuming Egyptian culture is like somewhat more conservative. It's probably like Indian culture. What is the conversation like when you're telling your family that you're gonna pursue comedy and move to LA? Like, take us back to that time.
Oh man, so after I had graduated college, my mom was like, a lot of brown parents, they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, and my mom wanted me to get like a job, like a corporate job, right? Or be a lawyer. And I was like, Mom, I don't wanna do that. Like, I can't imagine myself doing a 9 to 5. Like, I wanna be a comedian. And she was like, give it a shot. I tried it for a year, nothing. She was telling me, she's like, you need to come back. You need to come back home and get a real job. I just knew that I had something. I knew that I wanted to do this. This is what I was happy doing. Although I wasn't having any success doing it whatsoever. I had like 300 followers, I just knew that this is my destiny. This is what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And after stuff had actually taken off, I remember the first time I had told my mom, hey, I'm making these videos on Instagram. And she didn't even know what Instagram was. At this time, I think I had maybe around 300,000 followers. And I'm like, hey, I'm like trying to convince my mom that I'm famous. And she's just like, what? Like, no, like that. She didn't believe me. And I actually was in New York, and we were outside of a mall, and there was like a field trip of 3 school buses. And all these kids had got off, and 3 kids recognized me, and they swarmed me. And
she saw this?
Yeah. No, my mom was right next to me.
Yeah.
And there was literally so many people around us, probably at least 100 kids. And a police officer was actually there and actually escorted us into the car and broke up the whole thing. And then when we got in the car, my mom was like, I guess you are famous. And now she's the first one in my comments, commenting on anything I post. She's in the comments fighting with fans. I'm like, don't fight. Don't write back to them. If they find out you're my mom, they're really gonna roast me. So she's really supportive of it now, and she's my biggest fan. So
wow,
I love that.
That's incredible.
And then you paid all those kids afterwards.
Yeah. And then I paid them. I bought them all lunch. But yeah, she really that was the day she became a believer. But before that, she was kind of Instagram, you're making videos, so it was kind of cool to see that transition for her.
Yeah. What I love about that story is I think we can all relate to that. I mean, I was the same. Growing up, it was either you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. Those are my 3 options, and I chose the third one. I went off to become a monk, right? So that's totally messing up. You're not gonna make any money doing that. And so I can relate to that, and I know how hard it was to still follow what you love to do. And so when I hear you say that, I'm like, how does Adam, when it's not going well, when everything's not working out, how does he develop the courage, little Adam at that time, develop the courage to say, I'm still gonna pursue this. I'm still gonna follow my heart. Where did that come from at the time? What was pushing you?
Actually, I gave up at one point. So a year and a half in, I was trying to do auditions, I was trying to get an agent, nothing. And I mean, as you know, you move to LA, there's always someone that looks better than you, there's always someone that's a better actor than you. Not these two guys. If this was my competition, I would have been in a Marvel movie by now. But no, you know, there's just so much competition, right? And you get here and you get humbled very quickly. And you know, I was grinding for a year and a half. I was trying to figure it out, and nothing was working out. And towards the end, I had just decided, you know, I saw people making videos online, and I said, I'm gonna try this. And I had like just Googled like, how the hell do you shoot? How do you edit? I had no skill set, never went to film school or anything like that. So I had made a video, and I remember I posted it, it got like 90 views. And I'm like, that's it, I'm done. Like, this was the last straw. I have tried everything. I put like, it took me like almost like 3-4 months to make this like 30-second video. And it got 90 views, and that was it. I was like, you know, I'm gonna move back home. I'm gonna finish out the rest of this month. I'm from New York, so I had to pay for a flight back, which was like $400, didn't have that. And I was like, let me get paid. You know, I was working as an assistant. It's like, let me get paid, and I'll move back. So I had made that decision in the beginning of the month. And while I was just waiting it out, I was like, I might as well shoot a couple more videos, why not? So same thing, put out another video, 80 views, put another one out, 80 views again. And the fourth one that I posted, I had posted it in the morning, and then at nighttime, it had 1,000 views, which was like kind of a big deal. I had 300 followers. This was like way more than my following, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, this is it, I made it. I went to bed, and then I woke up the next day, it had 400,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm famous, this is it. So I ended up calling my boss. I ended up saying, I'm quitting, I'm staying here. And he was like, you're quitting because you had a viral video? And I'm like, yeah, I'm famous now. And the next video that I posted got like 1,000 views, so I got humbled really quickly. But that was like the greatest sign of hope that I had got. That was the best news that I had got in a whole year and a half. That was the first time I was excited about anything. And you know, it took that, you know, for me to say, I have something, and I've been passionate about making these videos and making people laugh. But of course, when you're not getting the results, no one's laughing, no one's watching, right? Right. You're like, am I funny? Maybe I'm not funny. And you know, that video gave me all the confidence that I needed. And just that one video powered me to, even though the next few flopped, and you know, the road is very bumpy, right? There's a lot of highs and lows. Sometimes you need that small win. You need that win to just believe in yourself, because after a certain time, you stop believing, right? Years go by, no success. You ask yourself, should I just switch? Should I go to something else? Yeah. So that's kind of that was the journey. That was the spark to everything.
Yeah, I mean, what I especially love about that story, and a message that I think so many young people especially need to hear, is when you had that video that didn't break 100 views, you could have easily said, you did say, that's it, right? Yeah. But even though you were saying that's it, something inside of you said, I'm gonna keep going, right? And you kept making your second video, your third video, which also didn't hit. And then eventually you had that video that really took off. So I think it's really inspiring. Like, people get discouraged so easily, and it's so important that you never know when you're gonna find success. You'll never know if you just quit, right? I remember when I was starting my first video, actually, I released it almost 4 years ago, and it was on my birthday. I strategically did it on my birthday because I just thought people would be nicer to me, right?
You thought you'd get that engagement, that birthday love.
For sure. And at this time, you know, Jay was crushing Facebook, he still is, and there was all these motivational speakers on Facebook, and I just wanted to be like them, and I'd see their views, they get millions of views. And so, you know, I think I recorded my very first video. I probably did hundreds of different takes, and I'd be in front of the camera and I'd be like, what if Michael Jordan gave up, you know, after he was cut from his high school basketball team? And what if Oprah gave up after she was fired from her job as a reporter? And Laura would say, be yourself. And I'm like, I am being myself, right? And I put so much time and effort into it. And then when I finally posted it, I was like, babe, this is it. You know, it's gonna go viral. And I posted it, and then I refreshed, and I refreshed, and I refreshed, and I was like, why is it not going viral? The video didn't even break 100 views. And I swore that something was wrong with the Facebook algorithm.
He's checking Twitter, trying to see is Facebook down.
I thought I had like the best video in my hands, but you know, similarly, so that video never went anywhere. And I continue to make videos that never went anywhere. But I think it was the commitment to like not give up that makes all the difference. So yeah, I love how that, and what was the next step of that? So after you had your viral video, you said the next few didn't work out. What was like sort of the bigger break that happened next?
So I think around like my 10th video, I ended up hitting 1 million views, which was, so to say, like my big break, but I was still very broke. It's like, I didn't know how to actually make money off creating content, right? So I did get to a point where I was around like, 400, 500K followers and just making no money. Still no representation or anything like that. And there's an audience of people watching my stuff, right? But you want the right people to watch your stuff, right? I wanted an agent to see my stuff. I wanted a manager to see my stuff. People who can rep me and really like, help me excel to the next level and make it more so of a business rather than just doing it for fun. I mean, at the end of the day, I still do it for fun, but you want to have those pieces around so you can continue to keep doing it, right? So later on, I had met my manager, who I'm still with today, and then I signed to CAA. Yeah, she's right over there. Hey. And then I signed to CAA and then really just turned it more into a business and really figured out my content schedule. Whereas, when I first started, I was just posting whenever or trying to post and everything was a scramble and I was, doing everything by myself. Now I'm fortunate enough to have a team of people who help me create my content. So just learned so much throughout the way, so many failures, so many things I learned along the way that, taught me lessons that are invaluable to where I'm at today. So yeah, I kind of just, got a team together and, made it more so of a business,
Yeah, I love hearing that because I think we often talk about like how to deal with failure or rejection or when things don't work out, but something that stayed with me is also how you respond to having your first success.
Yeah.
So I remember as we were talking about like the first time I had a video that went viral, it was like, did like 1 million views in 24 hours and then did 24 million views in 7 days. And I was like, this is insane. And I never wanted to make a video again because I was like, it will never be that good.
Yeah.
And so like for 3 months, I didn't make a video because I didn't know if it would ever be that successful because that was a surprise. Before then, I wasn't getting a lot of views. And so I think it's really interesting to see how people also respond to success as we do with failure. You said you learned a lot of lessons. What are some of the lessons that Adam lives by? Because I think when you look from the outside, it's just like, Adam's hilarious, he doesn't have any lessons, Adam has no value to offer in life, right?
It's true.
Because his value's laughing. But as I know you as a friend, I'm like, I know you're very thoughtful, I know you're very strategic, I know you're reflective, like, that's the side of Adam that we don't always get to see in the videos. Tell us about what are the 1 or 2 lessons that you're like, Adam lives by like right now?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing coming up, is, I'm a perfectionist. So I want everything to be done a certain way. And, when I first started, my goal was to be an actor. The reason why I wanted to be an actor is because I wanted to make millions of people laugh, right? So I had established my end goal was I want to make millions of people laugh. And I thought that being an actor was going to be that vehicle, right? It ended up being social media and I ended up reaching way more people, right? And same thing with you, you wanted to be a motivational speaker, but then you ended up creating, pieces that, inspire people, right? So if your goal was to inspire people, you thought it was going to be motivational speaking, but it ended up being creating content, right?
Right.
So one thing I've learned is you can never try to guess it, and you shouldn't. You should have a final goal, and then anything you attract, that's how it will happen. You just go with the flow, right? If I say I want to make millions of people laugh, anytime you try to guess something, it never ends up working out that way. You can never figure it out. Like, you can never say, hey, I'm going to do this, it'll lead to this, it'll lead to that. I think the biggest thing for me is just knowing my intention of my end goal and just being positive and let the universe let that happen for me, and not saying, hey, it has to be done this way,
right?
Or I have to do it this way to get there, right? It ends up being in a way you would never imagine anyways. It ends up being better of a route, right? And that's just kind of something I learned throughout the way that, I always thought, oh, it's gonna be me being an actor, I'm gonna be in a movie, and then I'll make millions of people laugh. And, I'm thankful that it didn't happen that way because, let's say I would have booked something, right? And I would have been an actor.
Right.
I would have never known that I had the skill to create stuff.
Yeah.
That's like the most rewarding thing in the world. Like, I mean, you guys know, because you guys create content, it's such an amazing feeling to create something out of nothing, right? Rather than just acting in it. And that's okay if, that's your goal to do that and you enjoy that as well. But I would have never known I had that skill set if I didn't, get rejection as an actor.
Yeah.
So just knowing my end goal and then not worrying so much about how I'm gonna get there, just knowing I'm going to get there.
No, I love that. And it really resonated with me too when you said that you're such a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help but think, like, the question that everyone's probably dying to know is, I noticed that your beard doesn't like fully connect here. So,
Well, the
as
thing
a
is, like, here's
perfectionist.
I know.
Wow,
Well, you know what? I know that my beard is going to connect. And I don't know how it's going to connect, but I believe that it will connect. And who
Gotcha.
knows? Maybe I
Wow,
get implants. Maybe I put. Who knows?
The
I think it looks
universe
great.
is gonna
I
make
think
it
it looks
happen.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly wish I was sitting over there because this, if you look here, this is the better side, right? It connects more on this side.
Yeah.
This side, you guys must have known. I think he set my seat
He
up
set
here.
you up.
No,
He said,
you've got great hair, great sweater,
Yeah,
great everything.
yeah.
All I can see is
Yeah,
that one
it's like no
spot
matter how
that-
motivational I am, people always still talk about my beard not connecting. I gave that whole speech, and then it comes back to my beard.
No, but on a more serious note, like I 100% agree that like if you put yourself in the right situations and the universe does conspire, like The Alchemist is one of my favorite books that I've read, and it talks about how if you commit yourself to an idea long enough and you practice your craft long enough, eventually the road to get there, it might be a different path, as you're saying. It might be a path that you don't even expect, or you might even end up at a different place altogether. But then you realize that you're in like this very happy place. And I know along your career, you've also been, fortunate enough to connect with lots of major creators, some celebrities and such. Was there a moment where maybe you just moved to LA or like someone discovered your content where it was the big door opening for you and the universe conspiring for you?
Yeah, I remember I had a viral video, and I remember like a few like big creators had reached out to me. And they were like, hey, we saw your video, like you should come by and shoot. We're having a shoot day. And I was like, I've watched all these guys, literally. Like I've watched all their content, I've studied their stuff. So I'm showing up acting like I don't know anybody, trying to be cool. And I remember I get there and, I have no clue what I'm doing at this point. I had just like picked up a camera, I just edited something and it went viral, essentially, right? And I remember I got there and one of the bigger creators was like, hey, how would you get this shot? And I'm like, I'd get it right here, And I had no clue what I was doing. I was just winging it.
Yeah.
And I remember I left that day and I'm like, this is so insane. I was like such a big fan of all these people. And now—
We'd love to know names, by the way. I know everyone's dying to know the names.
I mean, your King Batches, Daystorm, Leanne V. These were like some of the really big creators at the time.
Nice.
Right after the post-Vine era. And I used to just watch their stuff and I was a fan. And it was so crazy when I got home because I was like, I'm like starting to become friends with them now. They're looking at me as a colleague, someone to shoot with. And that really like was a surreal moment for me,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I love how honest you're being with us, like about how you walked in there, trying to play cool. And
What's your name again?
yeah. I never see.
I know his
Hey,
full
man,
government name, everything. But yeah, and I was like, I was so, it goes back to being a perfectionist as well.
Yeah.
Like I was so like worried about like what people thought, how people perceive me. I didn't want to make any bad impressions. I wanted to be respectful to everybody. Right. But at the same time, I wanted to let people know like I really want to do this. I want to be like you guys. Yeah. And I've been trying for 2 years. So to finally be in that room with those people was a really surreal moment for me.
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. You may not know this about me, but one of the hardest times of my life was right before I started making videos. I was 30 years old, I had just come out of a very difficult breakup, and I was struggling to make ends meet. Times like that in life can be really difficult, whether it's a career change, a relationship issue, or becoming a parent. And that's why a therapist can help. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of the challenging emotions you face and learn productive coping skills. A lot of people are scared of going to therapy, but I'm here to tell you that's one of the greatest things that you can do in life to understand yourself and also understand other people as well. Therapy can teach you different coping skills and strategies for life's most difficult moments and how to explore your emotions and feelings. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with the therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/DAR&J. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DAR&J.
I want to hear about some of the funny audition tape moments from the acting time, because I feel like everyone has a part of their lives where they're pursuing something so deeply, they're working really hard at it. You probably think you're a little bit confident because you think you're working on it, but then obviously you pivoted from that. Tell us about some of the funny audition tape stories or some of the acting moments that didn't go quite to plan.
Oh man, so I remember I was auditioning. I'd probably done like 10 auditions, just same thing, just would never get a call back. I wasn't even sure if they were watching my tape. So I remember I was like really down. I had went into this one audition, and it was a really weird audition. They basically I had to go in, and it was for a commercial, and there was no dialogue, there was no nothing. They basically wanted me to lay on the ground and pretend like I'm swimming, right? I didn't even know what the audition was for. I don't even know how I got this audition, and I did it, and I was like, I got up, and they were like, thanks, and I left, and I'm like, that was the stupidest audition ever, and I ended up booking it. Right? And so on my LA casting, I don't know if have you guys ever been on LA casting?
There is, yeah.
Basically, they give you like all these categories. Like, do you have this skill set? Do you have this skill set? Like, do you know how to swim? Do you know how to play basketball? I just checked everything. Because I was like, what are the chances? I book it anyways, right? And for that audition, one of the requirements after I booked it, like, it said on your LA casting that you're a high diver. Right? And I was like, yeah, I am, yeah. And I didn't want to lose the audition because I had booked it, right? I've never dove off a diving board ever. I can't even jump. I barely know how to dive just off nothing. And I remember I showed up to the audition, and I showed up to the shoot. I showed up there, and this whole time I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm gonna have to jump off a diving board. Like, I need the money, and I booked this commercial, like, so I'm gonna do it. And when I got there, they ended up scrapping it last minute. And they're like, we just want you swimming. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I would have went for it.
Would you have jumped?
I would have had to. I never signed a contract, so.
That's hilarious.
That was probably the craziest audition into actually doing a project that
That's a great story. So, you're having all these moments where those are brilliant stories. You're going down that path, things are not quite working out. You've pivoted, and obviously you've had this amazing success. And I know you've been waiting to say this the whole time, so I'm just going to say it.
I have. Yeah, just say it.
Forbes 30 under 30. I saw that, bro.
I was not expecting that.
I saw that, bro. That looked,
He usually leads with that
Yeah,
line
I
when
know.
he
I
means
was like,
to.
thought you guys were
Before
gonna
he
announce
says
it when I
his
walked
name.
out.
Yeah. But no, congratulations.
Thank you.
Like,
that was a pretty
amazing.
crazy moment. I remember I was actually up at 5 a.m. editing, and somebody had texted me and was like, congrats on Forbes 30 under 30. I'm like, what? And I went and checked, and I was like, I was not expecting it at all. I had no clue that they would even consider me for that. And I was like, this is really amazing. And then I went back to editing.
That's amazing.
And finished my video.
How have you found a way to celebrate? I feel like we can probably all relate to this. You set a goal, you get there, and then you set another goal. And then you get there. And then you set another goal and you get there.
Yeah.
And then you look back and go, wow, I've never actually stopped to appreciate and admire and respect myself, that the things that I'm now having with ease are once the things I was desperate for and dying for and striving to achieve. How have you learned, or how are you configuring, celebrating, appreciating where you're at, finding gratitude in the moment? Because like you just said, it's so easy to go editing, Forbes 30 under 30, editing.
Yeah, one of the things I've developed over these past couple of years is anytime you get a small win, whether you want to celebrate it or not, you should, because when you do celebrate it and you are grateful for something, it's only gonna open up the next door, right? And a lot of times you set a goal, and in that moment, if you had that goal, it'd be the greatest thing ever. But then when you actually get there, you already have 5 more goals, and that's kind of like a weak goal.
Yeah.
So, I'll have a dinner. I think we're actually having a dinner tonight.
I don't think we got
Yeah,
that.
no, I check your emails. See how you spend.
He's like telling his manager, send it right now.
But I try to have like a dinner or celebrate, but just on a more consistent basis, every night, no matter what, no matter where I'm at, I will spend like 5-10 minutes and just name everything I'm grateful for. I actually write it down. And then I spend like 10 minutes visualizing as well, like things that I want to do. Like I literally close my eyes and I act out stuff like a crazy person in the room. And that's kind of been my routine for the past like 3 years now. And just spending that 5 minutes and just really writing what I'm grateful for, what I currently have, has just made my life so much better and gives you appreciation and it allows you to level up to the next level.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I'm sure you've dealt with in your journey that Jay and I'm sure you've dealt with as well. It's hard being on social media and building a career, and you open yourself up to a lot of criticism. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I would get really sensitive to certain types of comments that would come in. The new thing is that's cringe. Everything is cringe, right? I can only imagine as a comedian, like if someone doesn't find what you're doing funny, that must open you up to like a lot of criticism and such, especially younger self. Like older Adam, I'm sure you've gotten more accustomed to it, but in your younger days when you're just starting off, you hadn't made as big of a name for yourself, how do you work through that online criticism and still find the motivation to keep going?
Yeah, it's tough. I remember like the first few videos I'd done, there was for sure like some comments like, oh, this isn't funny, that's not funny. It's interesting, like I used to, get really offended. And I remember one time somebody wrote a comment and I think they said, that's not funny. And I wrote back, then you should unfollow me, right? And they had responded, oh my God, I can't believe you wrote back, I'm a huge fan. Right. And a lot of times, with the negative comments, people just want a reaction because they know that, you'll react to it. And most of the time they're actually a fan, but it is a shame that, if you post something and you're getting 2,000 laugh emojis, right? But then there's one comment that says something negative, that you hold on to that comment rather than the 2,000 people that says something positive, right? And I think just over time, I trained my brain to say, hey, look, it's a numbers game. You're not gonna put something out, there's gonna always be negative reviews, right? But if I have 10,000 positive comments and 2 negative ones, those are really good odds right there. So not taking anything personally, and comedy is subjective, right? Everyone's not gonna think everything's funny, right? But as long as the majority does, I can sleep at night.
Yeah, I'm sure I think there's a lot of people out there that have a dream, they have a goal, and they're not even at a point where they're gonna receive like so many comments from followers, criticizing them because they don't have any platform at all. But they're more worried about the 2 or 3 people that they used to know in high school or their family members. Like that's what was hard for me. I would obsess about certain people's opinions and what they were gonna think about my content. So how did you have any situations like that? And how did you overcome that?
There was definitely some like high school friends that were like, oh, you're doing those corny videos or those aren't funny. And fast forward to today, now they're the biggest fan, right? And they're like, I went to high school with that kid. So I think everyone's gonna doubt you until you actually do something. Right. And then now when you get to a certain level, now those same people are a fan now, right? But in the moment, I didn't know that was gonna happen. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna change their mind later down the road. It did hurt my confidence a bit, but I kept going, and it's kind of just one of those things you power through, and it sucks, especially when it's coming from people that you're friends with or family members. It's just interesting to see that dynamic change when you actually get some success. You're not funny until you have a viral video, and then when you're viral, now you're the funniest person, right? So that's just one of the things that comes with the game.
There's a quote that I love that I heard a long time ago, and it says, don't let compliments get to your head, and don't let criticism get to your heart. And it's kind of like that middle plane of like, it's very easy to fall into either of those traps. And kind of like staying on that track requires so much more.
Yeah,
I can see you react.
It's actually funny that you say that because I do have like a quote that I keep in my head that if somebody tells me I'm funny, I don't believe them. And if they tell me I'm not funny, I don't believe them. Because you can't pick and choose what you believe, right? Because then if I start believing those people saying I'm funny when they say I'm not funny, I have to believe them, right?
Yeah.
So I don't believe anybody. Besides myself.
He doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I don't
believe
trust
it.
anybody. I don't even trust myself.
He doesn't believe in himself.
Yeah, I just believe in myself. So yeah, I don't take any of the comments I get personal.
Yeah.
You know?
You told me at his party, and you mentioned it here, I remember us talking about this, you were really into manifesting.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about law of attraction.
Oh yeah.
And we literally sat at his birthday, and this is what we were talking about in the corner. And I was like, wow, like Adam's like literally manifested his career. You gave us a bit of an insight a few moments ago. Could you tell us about how you got introduced to that idea, but also how you've created a practice out of it?
Yeah, so I was living in North Hollywood at the time, and I was like in a 2-bedroom with like 5 people. I had like a curtain in my room. And I remember I was like really down on myself. And this was like a bit before that video went viral for me. And I remember I was just feeling really depressed just because nothing was going my way. And my roommate, one of my roommates, came up to me and he's like, hey, I got this DVD, it's called The Secret. You should watch it, it'll change your life. You know, help you with your career and whatnot. And I'm like, dude, you're in a worse position than me. You know, he's in the other room with the 3 people. I only have 2 people in my room. And I'm like, I'm not listening to this guy. And just threw the DVD on my dresser. And a couple days went by and I was just really feeling down. I'm like, let me just watch this thing. And I watched it and it was about the law of attraction. If you guys haven't seen The Secret, have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
And I just believed everything that they said. Every single word I believed that they said. And I ended up just watching it every single morning. At like 6, 7 a.m. I would watch it every single morning. And I started to, you know, practice some of the things they said in The Secret. So one of the things I was doing is at nighttime, I would take my phone and I would look at my phone and I would act like I got 1 million views on a video, right? And I would just, every night, I would just like, I'm scrolling and I'm looking at 1 million views on my phone. And fast forward 2-3 months later, that happened. And when that happened, I said to myself, okay, if I could create that, then I can create anything. And one of the biggest things they say in The Secret is that the amount of power it takes to attract a cup of coffee is the same it would take to attract $1 million, right? It's just that we put $1 million on a pedestal, but a cup of coffee is easy, right? But essentially, for you to attract that, it's the same amount of energy, the same amount of power. And as you start to, you know, visualize something and it becomes, it happens, right? Your confidence goes up, right? So now I'm at the point where it's just a game. I can just pick whatever I want, visualize that, really believe that I have that, and then boom, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's there.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, so on and so forth. But, you know, I had to build that confidence, you know, and I started small and it grew and I became more confident. And now I'm at a place where, you know, anything that comes into my life is because I've attracted that.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me that for the longest time, my nighttime routine would be, I would go on Zillow at night. Right? And I think a lot of people can relate to this. And so Zillow is a platform, as you guys know, where you could see like different houses for sale and you could adjust the price of the house that you're looking for, you know? I was living in downtown LA at the time. I was living in this sketchy neighborhood. I lived in a small, you know, studio apartment that I was also running my business out of. Laura was very gracious to like bear with me during that tough time. And every night I would look at these really expensive houses and, you know, it'd always just be raising the price of the market range. And so I'd be looking at like $10 million houses, even though I barely had like $100 in my bank account, you know? I was just visualizing it so much. And I would go on runs at night when I'm in downtown LA. And even though I'd be like going through Skid Row and there's like, you know, homelessness and there's dirty streets, it smelled bad, everything. In my mind, I was running through the most beautiful neighborhood in my own house, in my own community. And it was the craziest full circle moment. So, you know, a lot has changed over the years. We've gotten to this amazing place and we bought like our dream house, you know, about 1.5 years ago. And I was so in the habit of that nightly visualization that the night I went to bed in our dream house in that dream neighborhood, out of habit, I went to Zillow and I was still looking for those houses. And I was like, I don't need to do this anymore, I'm here. But that's how, like, it's amazing how things can just manifest themselves if you think about them every single day.
Yeah, I remember like the first couple of videos I had, I was like, let me go on Zillow. I should get a house. I didn't even have like $10,000 in my bank account, and I'm looking at like $3 million house. I'm like, this isn't bad, but not for me. Nowhere near like the amount of money to buy this house. But that's funny, yeah. That's exactly what it is, right? You like would just go on the website and say, you know, I live in one of these houses, and I'm sure you had like a similar experience. And I always tell people like, the law of attraction is the most important thing. That and being grateful are the two ingredients for me that, you know, equal success in whatever you want.
I feel the same way. I mean, the reason why I asked you that question was because I still remember that conversation.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that you practice these things behind the scenes. And for me, visualization, intention have been such daily habits for such a long time that when I hear these stories, I'm like, I love people getting to listen to this from you today when they're listening or watching this interview. They're like, wow, even Adam does it too, you know? And it's like, wow, this is a practice that someone could build up from a younger age. I mean, tell me about how that collides with everything that you've been doing with Entourage and what's happening there. Because I'm a huge fan of the original show.
Same.
And then you were posting all these pictures, and I think Mark Cuban was involved, and like, and we talked about it briefly when we were last together. That must have been really exciting because as a comedian, I mean, you know, that show is hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's like one of my top shows of all time.
Wow.
And it still holds up to this day. I rewatched it.
True.
Hilarious.
So my funny story about that show, just to add, is I had never watched that show until the pandemic because I was a monk when that show was famous. So when it came to the pandemic, my wife was like, all right, we got to catch up on all the shows you missed. So I was like, all right, you tell me what to watch. So she was in charge. So she was like, we're going to start with Entourage because that was her favorite show. And we watched it, and I found it hilarious in 2020. Yeah. And so it's held up.
And it came out in
time.
like 2004, I believe.
Yeah, it's old,
which is insane.
It held up. Yeah, so sorry, I just want to add that.
Oh, no, that's great. Yeah, so I got a DM from Doug Ellen, the creator, and he was following me on Instagram. I didn't even know I had followed him back, but then, a couple months went by, we were just following each other. I didn't think anything of it.
You're telling everyone he's your best friend, though.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much best friends now. But he had DM'd me, and he's like, hey, I'm doing a new show. Would you want to be in it? And I'm like, let me check my schedule. And I'm just kidding. I was like, yes, of course, I'll be in it. And I ended up meeting him. Such an amazing guy. There was a lot of the cast that was in Entourage in it, like Kevin Dillon, Kevin Connolly. Aside from Mark Cuban, he did an episode. Charlie Sheen was in it. So it was really like an all-star cast.
Wow.
And I got there. It was a really funny script. I ended up seeing the first episode. So the show's called Ramble On. It's not out yet, but it was a crazy experience, especially like kind of similar to like, when I met all those influencers that one day. Same here, I used to watch Entourage and it was kind of like, what the heck, I'm actually here right now. And that came through, same thing, manifesting, visualizing, and now he's a good friend and hopefully we continue to do that show, but I'm excited for that one to come out.
Yeah, one of the things that also is really inspiring as to how people can sometimes use like the challenges that they have or things that they're somewhat insecure about and turn it into like an asset, right? Like when I was reading the Will Smith book, for instance, Will Smith talks about how he used humor to overcome difficult situations that he was in because he didn't actually want to deal with those real situations. So I can't help but wonder, like, I was shocked as to when we actually have had intimate, meaningful conversations. I'm like, man, Adam is so deep, but most of the interactions are just very, funny, superficial. Like when you're a comedian, I guess they have to be. Was you bringing out humor part of something that like you were insecure about?
I think maybe just wanting people to like me. I've always found that like making people laugh, humor is the best way to get in any door, right? You make somebody laugh, you win them over. I always had that in the back of my head. And even like today, this is probably like the most serious I've ever been. I feel weird. Yeah. Usually nobody ever believes anything I say because everything's a joke. But yeah, it's what makes me happy. I think like for me, laughter is the greatest sound. And I just love making people laugh. And it's cool to make, someone who's young laugh, someone who's old laugh, and it's almost like a challenge. Every time I meet somebody, I try to feel them out and say, okay, what kind of joke would they laugh at? Like, are they a weirdo or are they like more professional? Then you got to go a different route. So it's kind of just something I always, when I walk in a room, I'm like, I wonder what I can say to make that person back there laugh. And it's just something that just happens. I don't even try to do it. It just unconsciously happens in my head. I'm always just trying to make everyone laugh because I enjoy it. I think I enjoy it more than they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys could laugh right now, that'd be great. Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just do that. When you get to this level, you can just tell people laugh and you don't even have to say a joke.
People just do it.
So yeah, thanks. But yeah, I mean, I just love making people laugh.
Adam, this has been so dope, man. This is like just hanging with you, getting to have such a fun, casual conversation. I'm hoping that people who've been listening today got to see a different side of you, a deeper side of you, which they won't see very often anywhere else.
This is it.
This is it. This is the last one, yeah. But no, I appreciate it because I think that's what I found fascinating about you. Like, I've always found you hilarious. I think your content's amazing. I think it's only got better and better and better.
Yeah, true.
And getting to know you better and better and better has, me and Dhar have a lot of respect for you as well and how you live and how you
Likewise,
conduct
I mean,
yourself,
you guys
so.
inspire. I've already told both of you guys inspire me a lot, and you guys care so much about the content you put out, and that's why it's so amazing because of the effort that you guys put in. So, as a fellow content creator, I appreciate when I see people put effort in their videos, and not just effort, but then the videos are also amazing as well. So, congrats to both of you guys. And
Yeah,
I'm excited
thanks.
to see what you
It
guys
really
keep
is like, I feel like, to go viral, you can make people laugh or you can make people cry, right? And you've got the comedy and then the inspiration touches their hearts.
Cry?
No, I mean, inspirational content, you could really resonate with people's hearts. So I love how we all found like our own pathway to get there.
That's a great point.
But still, the impact has been incredible, so.
Yeah.
We got to do it. We have to do a skit all three of us. We're long overdue.
Yeah, I'm
true.
waiting.
Yeah.
You script it, I'm ready.
Okay, I'll send you guys an email.
But I want one of those ones where the problem gets bigger every time.
yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I need to be a part of one of
It's
those
gonna
ones.
heaven
escalate.
or like on a stretcher at the elevator, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm in. You tell me when.
We'll
I'd
do
love
it.
to do that.
We'll get one in the books. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming soon.
I'm excited. Adam, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
this
guys.
is
Appreciate
amazing.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.